everyone, and welcome to today's live session on Immigration Legal Assistant Diploma at Ashton College. My name is Pamela, and I'm part of the marketing team here. I'll be your host this afternoon. I'll be pleased to be joined by Jodi McDonald, an instructor for this program, our RCIC, and a CEO of Savannah Canadian Immigration and Relocation Services. In this session, we'll explore Jodi's background and experience, discuss the structure and highlights of the program, talk about essential skills in the field, and review the types of career opportunity available after graduation. Feel free to submit your questions using the chat or Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We'll get to as many as we can during the Q&A portion at the end. If you'd like more information about the program, how to apply, or Ashton College in general, you'll find helpful links in the resources section or in the video description if you're watching later on YouTube. Now, let's get started. Hey, Jodi, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Pamela. It's a pleasure.
Can you give us a short breakdown of the immigration legal field and what it involves?
Okay. So the immigration legal field, it focuses on the arm of Canadian immigration, the arm of Canadian law that dictates who can enter Canada, who can remain in Canada, and who needs to be asked to leave Canada or removed from Canada. So basically, when we hear all these terminologies that we tend to hear, and more often nowadays than before, we're hearing about study permits, we're hearing about express entry, we're hearing about work permits. All of those are simply a systematic way for the government to manage the decision of who can enter, remain, or who needs to be removed from Canada. Those terminologies, permits, study permits, work permits, Canadian Experience Class, Federal Skilled Worker Program, those are just the systematic way that the government does it. And of course, if we're talking about the immigration legal field, we have to have an extensive knowledge of the Immigration Refugee Protection Act and the Immigration Refugee Protection Regulations, because of course, those are the ultimate guides that we will need to be able to function in the immigration legal field.
Oh, that's very fascinating. Can you tell us a bit about your career, educational background, and why you choose to work in immigration law?
All right. So I have been working in Canadian immigration law for the last 8 years. My background is a combination of subjects that I believe help to hone my skills and as an immigration practitioner and also as a business owner. So I have a bachelor's degree, first of all, in communications from my home country. I also have a business certificate, and of course, I have my Immigration Legal Assistant Diploma from Ashton College, by the way, and I am now a master's student as well. So all of them work together to complement what I do, both as a practitioner, as I said, and as a business owner. In terms of how I came to be practicing in the field of Canadian immigration law, it's basically the same as much like a lot of other persons that I've heard from, where there was a market. I did have when I started out a pretty low hanging market to serve, and so I found out very quickly, thankfully, that this was a field where regulation was mandatory, and so I took the necessary steps that I needed to take, including, or I should say, first of all, applying to Ashton for the Immigration Legal Assistant Diploma, and then continuing on that trajectory to becoming licensed to practice in the field of Canadian immigration law.
Oh, that's great. Can you tell us a bit about the Immigration Legal Assistant Diploma here at Ashton College, now that you mention it?
I would be happy to, Pamela. Okay, so for the Immigration Legal Assistance Diploma, it's specifically for persons who want to pursue a career in immigration law support. So the program is very comprehensive. You learn everything from legal terminologies to accounting and how to basically take on that part of it. You learn the administrative aspects of it. And what is absolutely great is that there is also much in terms of just practical experience in the Canadian immigration law field.
Great. And Jodi, what would you say would be your favorite part of the program? And what will students benefit the most in your opinion? Well, you were also a student in here, so yeah.
My favorite part of the program, and it was the same too when I was a student and I benefited from my then instructors, is the amount of experiential knowledge that I learned back then as a student and that I get to share now as an instructor. I really value that, and I feel like that 5 year, because I know for Ashton, and this may be a side note, for Ashton, it is a requirement of instructors that we have at least 5 years experience in the field to be able to instruct with Ashton. I think that that really is the icing on the cake, because you don't practice something for 5 years and then instruct in it without having that passion to just share your day-to-day experiences, your case knowledge, and all of the plethora of information that you would have garnered over your 5 years of practicing. And so that was something that I really appreciated back then as a student, and is something that I strive towards making sure that I'm doing for the students that I'm instructing currently.
That's great. I've also had the chance to hear from, well, yeah, from other instructors and students that flexibility is something that they appreciate very much about this program. Now, Jodi, how would you describe your teaching style?
So in answering that question, it still ties to the question, the previously asked question. So for me, I'm very interactive. I am a cameras on type of instructor. I like when the cameras are on because I feel like when we proactively participate in the classes, we get more. It's almost like it's training. It's like a training session. So we get more from the program as opposed to just turning off the camera, zoning out, and just listening without actually being fully immersed in what is happening. I also love the fact that I get the opportunity to focus on real world applications and the opportunity to share that information with the students. As what you said, flexibility, yes, there's flexibility in terms of time and the duration for the program, but as instructors, the fact that we get this opportunity to share our experiential knowledge with the new cohort of immigration professionals or immigration law support professionals, that's a real added bonus. And that's something that, in terms of my teaching style, I tend to appreciate. And so I incorporate it a lot in my classes.
That's great. Thanks for sharing all of that. What are your expectations of students in this program? How many study time will students need to dedicate each week to be successful, in your opinion?
Okay, so in terms of expectations of this of students in the program, this program is quite unique in that because of the structure of the program, It's something that as long as you put your all in it, you will walk away a winner. You will walk away with all the knowledge, all the expertise that you will need to just jump right in and be able to function in your new career. And that's something that's really awesome about this program. And so if I were to tie that to the expectation of the student, it's simply to take control of your learning environment, um, be proactive, turn on your camera, share, participate in class projects, participate in group activities, and take control or be the owner of the knowledge that is being given to you so that you can now take that knowledge and incorporate it into your learning curve and be the professional that you're hoping to be. In terms of hours dedicated to be successful, I would say 2 to 3 hours per week, simply again because of the type of instructors that form part the program and the amount of experiential knowledge that is being broken down for each class. It means that there doesn't need to be a whole lot of time spent outside of class hours working on the program because we try to incorporate that as much as possible during the class time. And so 2 to 3 hours per week, I think someone would be able to sufficiently manage and finish this program successfully.
Sounds good. I've also heard that yeah, having tools to project manage your your time and your task, your homework, everything, it
Right,
does makes a difference and makes it a little bit easier. And I guess
right,
a more enjoyable experience overall.
right.
Um, what are some career options or typical next steps for students after they graduate from this program, in your opinion?
Okay, so in terms of career, well, in terms of next steps, it depends on if the individual or the graduate is going to be jumping full force into their career or what are their ultimate objectives. So once you're finished, you can enter the legal profession, you can become a case manager, you can do case analysis, you can become an assistant in an immigration office or a law firm, you can become an immigration assistant, immigration processing assistant, immigration application assistant. So that's if you want to jump right in immediately. However, I find that this program serves also as an excellent precursor to extended or advanced studies. So somebody who wants to maybe become a full-time lawyer or a full-time RCIC can actually use this program as a stepping stone to launch that educational journey. It's especially if you're focusing on Canadian immigration law or just Canadian law overall, the amount of information that you will learn, it gives you that firsthand foundational knowledge that you would need to make an informed decision as it relates to whether or not the an expanded venture in the legal field overall, if you're competent enough to manage it and if it excites you enough, if you're sufficiently interested in moving forward with expanding that knowledge. So it really does serve as I said, not just to jump right in, but also to serve as a foundation for advanced learning opportunities as well.
Okay. And in your opinion, what are the most essential skills or qualities needed to be successful in this field? Yeah, you mentioned a few things during this time, but if we can sum them up, what would you say?
Okay. One of the first things that I looked at is technical skills. You definitely have to you would have to have some amount of foundational technical knowledge, because everything now in Canadian immigration is facilitated via portals. So that's first and foremost. Definitely we have to be compassionate, but I'm gonna say compassionate with boundaries and sensibility. That's definitely something that is necessary, because we have to be able to draw the line in terms of, yes, I'm compassionate towards a certain case, but also understanding that in me being compassionate towards a certain case, I'm not going outside of the boundaries that have been established by the Immigration Refugee Protection Act or the Immigration Refugee Protection Regulations, and also how to handle cases sensibly without letting compassion be the overarching emotion in terms of those cases. We also have to be very culturally sensitive. I feel like the field of Canadian immigration is one of those fields that requires the most cultural sensitivity, because it's not a happy-go-lucky kind of field where, maybe like buying a house or buying a car. It's serious. It's a very serious field. There are serious situations, real life situations that are being shared with us as immigration practitioners on a daily basis. And so it's understanding how to interpret those within a cultural context so that we can help our clients without laying or causing any emotional damage or anything of the sort. We also have to be excellent communicators. That is absolutely necessary. We cannot be easily intimidated. We must possess excellent analytic skills, depending on the level of responsibility that you have within the organization that you're working. Excellent time management skills, excellent written skills, just to name a few, to be successful in this role.
Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, and I guess it makes sense to build up those skills before starting and when you're there. I guess. Um, what's a typical day in the life of someone working as an immigration legal assistant?
So, and I'm going based on my typical day. So for me, my day starts off normally with me checking all communications or correspondences that would have come in overnight. You prioritize for Canadian immigration law, you're prioritizing any sort of communication that would have come in from Immigration Refugee Citizenship Canada, any correspondence that's coming in from provincial offices, from ESDC, those take priority because those have to be disseminated to the, whether it's being sent, whether you're passing it along to your superior for your superior to communicate it to the client, or you're the one responsible for communicating it to the client, whether it's an update, whether it's document request, information request, or simply a decision, whether positive or negative, that has been made on an application. Once I get that out the door, I go through the other correspondences and I add to my to-do list that would have started from the day before. At the end of my day, I add to that to-do list, and once I complete my to-do list, I get started on it. Now, something that's very important, and as I said, I tend to be very practical in my approach, is for me, I make sure that I set a timeline within which I respond to correspondences, because in this field, you get emails, WhatsApp, telephone calls right throughout the day. If you have social media, that's even worse, right? So it's understanding, like for me, I check my correspondences 8 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 4 o'clock before I go home. I believe that something like that is very, very important in keeping persons on track in this field, where your day is not spent only responding to correspondences, but actually getting work done. Once that is set, I go through my to-do list doing the quicker tasks first. And once I finish the quick task, then I go into my deep dive application processing, research, research, forms completions, putting together submission letters, having to do with the full application completion process. And that's basically my day in a nutshell. At the end of the day, I look at my to-do list, I see what was completed and what was not completed. That now starts the to-do list for the following day. I use that to create a to-do list for the following day, and I sign off of everything and I head out.
That sounds like a very productive day. But at the
Thank you.
same time, that's very inspiring and very, yeah, it seems like you get, yeah, this profession, it's very hands-on. Yeah, what advice would you give to students who are new to the field?
Okay, if I were to give advice to students new to the field, I would start off by saying, understand that your first priority is upholding the dictates of Canada's immigration law, but also understanding how to make the laws and the rules of the Immigration Refugee Protection Act and the Immigration Refugee Protection Regulations work for your clients. Right? So you are basically the bridge between the laws and your clients and their unique situation or case, and you're the one to reconcile both. Right. So that's that. And I believe that if students do understand that concept, then everything else flows from there.
That's a very good way to put it. What's your number one reason why students, well, yeah, prospective students should choose a career in immigration legal support, especially through this program?
Okay. So immigration legal support is one of those fields where your work actually has a tangible demonstrable benefit to individuals and families. It's something that you can see. You can see when you make a difference in an applicant's life, whether it is a visitor's visa where they're getting to come to Canada temporarily, or a life-changing case like a successful refugee claim, right? Or a successful humanitarian and compassionate claim, or having helped a company to transition to Canada, whatever it is, these are big results, and you as a small clog in a giant wheel are able to actually directly impact those big results. And so choosing your career in immigration legal support it's a very fulfilling career. In terms of choosing to start off that career with Ashton College, I would say the biggest plus is the experiential knowledge that you get to have through your instructors. You are able to live real life scenarios and real life situations right then and there in the classroom. So when you get out there into the workspace, you are able to pull on that knowledge and use that knowledge to propel you forward in your career in like very, very quickly, as opposed to maybe a program where it's highly theory based with little to no practical information being disseminated. And so every day is a brand new day on the job for you to learn something that you've never heard about before. When you choose to do it with Ashton College, based on the caliber of instructors that Ashton has on their roster, it's like when you enter, you're entering already 5 years ahead of the learning curve. And it's just a matter of putting into practice all of what you have learned and having that experiential portfolio to pull from when you encounter different situations and circumstances in your new role.
Wow, like I said, a very hands-on career.
It is, yes.
And in your opinion, what has changed the most in your field since you started?
Everything.
Yeah, I know it's a very like yeah, very broad question, and there must be a billion things. Uh, but yeah,
Every
if you
single
would
thing.
generalize it, yeah.
Okay. So if we're gonna look at what has changed, as I said, when I started, paper-based applications were a thing. Paper-based applications are no longer a thing. Everything is through portals, and that's why I spoke about having at least a working knowledge of technical in terms of computers, understanding how to sign on to systems and so on and so forth. We're working with lots of, there's a portal for everything now, right? I think the only application that still has the paper-based capability is citizenship applications, right? When I started, Canadian experience class was a dream. That CEC, that was a surety. Labor market impact assessment approvals, that was a surety. Federal skilled worker programs, that was pretty solid. International students and how those applications were processed, that too was not so rigid as it is now. However, of late, everything is centered around labor market needs. So CEC draws, everything now is based on category-based selections, labor markets too, determining what programs should be studied at school. Everything is now focused on category-based selections and labor market impact. And so anybody who is entering this field must be strategic, must understand that strategy is key, strategy is power in terms of having winning clients and winning files. Marketing has also changed too. I remember when I just started, I was probably one of the few persons on social media. I felt like a rebel when I just started, and I set up all the social media pages. I mean, I just felt like I was a trendsetter. And all of a sudden, you can't go onto TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, LinkedIn is crazy with immigration legal professionals. So the marketing looks completely different. Accounting has remained relatively the same over the years. There's not much change in terms of accounting. Communication is something too that remains constant. I believe, yeah, I think that kind of sums up oh, the difference in, what's before and what's now. But somebody said something to me the other day. As the markets get more difficult, it's actually better for us. So even with portals, right? Whereas back then persons were able to complete applications via the paper-based process, now we have a bigger market because less persons are competent in completing applications via portals. So the market is bigger. Though we think that it has shrunk, it's actually gotten bigger. International student markets where we said, okay, they have reduced the number of international students, but in reducing the number of international students, it means it's actually harder for a student to get approved. And so more and more persons are turning to professionals. They don't want to risk getting that denial because the likelihood of a denial is significantly higher now compared to 8 years ago or 9 years ago or even 3 years ago. And so persons are getting more serious about their applications. And so they are now in the market space more than ever trying to get legal assistance with their application. So the market has really shifted, and we now have more control of the market as immigration practitioners because of how rigid the entire system has become.
Oh, that was very interesting. Jodi, is there anything else you would like to add?
Not really. I think the questions that you asked, Pamela, have kind of given me an opportunity to look at the whole immigration legal support in a holistic way. I don't think there is anything additional that I would add, except, and I said it earlier too, so I'm really just repeating. It's a very fulfilling career. It's a very rewarding career. It sets the precedence for bigger things to come as well in terms of going into immigration legal support. It does set the precedents. Persons can navigate from being an immigration assistant to deciding, okay, based on this exposure, I love it. I want to become a lawyer, or I want to become an RCIC, and grow their career in that way.
I even got motivated by everything you said. I was a very long time ago an international student here, and I do appreciate all the help that we get during this process. Honestly, how you described everything, like I told you before, it seems like a very hands-on career, and it's been super motivated to hear from you. Well, thank you so much, Jodi, for sharing your insight and experience with us today. It's always valuable for prospective students to hear directly from one instructor, and to feel how the program is like, to get that knowledge and gain a little better understanding of what is really like to work in the immigration legal field. If you're interested in Immigration Legal Assistant Diploma program and want to take next steps, you can scan the QR code that will appear on your screen shortly, or visit ashtoncollege.com. Again, Jodi, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you to everyone who joined us today as well. We hope you find this session helpful, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you, Jodi.